Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Jay Wagner. Now calling to order our regular council meeting for Monday, May 3rd. I will begin this meeting by calling the roll, and I will state that present here at City Hall are Councilman Michael Holmes, Mayor Pro Tem Britt Moore, Councilman Chris Williams, Councilman Wesley Hudson, Councilman Victor Jones, Councilman Cyril Jefferson, and I am present also at City Hall. My understanding is that Councilwoman Monica Peters will not be with us tonight, and we are waiting for the arrival of Councilman Tyrone Johnson or him to join the meeting remotely. So we do have a quorum present, and we will be able to conduct business tonight. So before we begin, I would ask everyone please to rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Oh, Councilman Johnson just walked in.
Perfect timing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so before we get started with our regular agenda and our public comment period, I have 5 proclamations to read. This is more than usual. So I have my bottle of water ready. Now I'll commence with these. The first one is regarding Children's Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas good mental health is a key component in a child's healthy development, and Children's Mental Health Week provides the opportunity to focus on this important matter. While celebrating the accomplishments and resiliency of children and families affected by mental health concerns, and whereas, according to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, 1 in 5 children is diagnosed with a mental health condition. And whereas the Kellen Foundation, as a nationally recognized child health center, along with dozens of mental health agency partners, work to build resiliency, promote and educate about children's mental health needs as fundamental to the future of High Point's well-being. And whereas research has shown early identification and appropriate treatment of mental health disorders among children and adolescents provide them better opportunities to lead full and productive lives. And whereas children and youth with mental health challenges and their families benefit from access to timely services and supports that are family-driven, youth-guided, and culturally appropriate. They also benefit from the integration of behavioral health in primary care, education, and child welfare. And whereas it is important that children and adolescents, along with their families and communities, learn about the warning signs of mental health disorders and where to obtain necessary assistance and treatment. And whereas it is the community's responsibility to ensure that comprehensive, diverse, and culturally coordinated mental health services are recognized for all children. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Jay Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Children's Mental Health Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens of High Point to recommit our community to increase awareness and understanding of mental illness, improve the array of mental health services for consumers of all ages, and ensure those who are struggling know that they are not alone. Second proclamation is regarding Municipal Clerks Week, May 2nd through the 8th, 2021. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local government bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, J.W. Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim the week of May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Lisa Veerling, and our professional municipal deputy clerk, Mary S. Brooks, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and the exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. We have two great clerks here.
Yes, we do.
All right. Next proclamation is regarding classified staff members of the Guilford County Schools. Whereas the City of High Point would like to acknowledge the unique and essential work of all classified staff in our schools, and whereas we realize that the work of our teacher assistants, custodians, office staff, school nutrition workers, and bus drivers has been vital to maintaining the safety and supervision of our students. And whereas the classified staff members listed have been specifically recognized by their principals and supervisors for their exceptional commitment to students and their school community. Now therefore, I, Jay Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, on behalf of the High Point City Council, call upon the community to join me in personally expressing appreciation to these classified staff members for a job well done. All right, I'm going to try to do these names. Casey Walk, Teacher Assistant, Allen J. Elementary. Rocio Reyna Reyes, Teacher's Assistant, Allen J. Elementary. Brittany Boyd, Teacher Assistant, Fairview Elementary. Calvin Battle, Lead Custodian, Fairview Elementary. Kendall Welch, Technology Assistant, Florence Elementary. Lynn Ribble Woolcomb, Teacher's Assistant, Florence Elementary. Kim Gould, School Treasurer, School Nurse, Johnson Street Global Studies. Sam Frank, Lead Custodian, Johnson Street Global Studies. Louisa Abu Khalaf, Teacher Assistant, Kirkman Park Elementary. Natalia Gibson, Kindergarten Instructional Assistant, Montlou Academy of Technology. Andre Spinks, Facility Specialist, Montlou Academy of Technology. Teddy McDonald, Teacher Assistant and Technology Assistant, Northwood Elementary. Lolita Jackson, Teacher Assistant, Northwood Elementary. Linda Dawkins, Teacher Assistant, Oak Hill Elementary. Elvana Henry, Bus Driver for Bus 1078, Oak Hill Elementary. Leslie Bensini, Teacher Assistant, Oakview Elementary. Tyra Kinsley, Teacher Assistant, Oakview Elementary. Kenyatta Fuller, Custodian, Parkview Village Elementary. Penn Gross, School Treasurer, Shady Brook Elementary. Janine Martin, GCS Staff Member, Shady Brook Elementary. Courtney Watson, Teacher Assistant, Southwest Elementary. Julia Jackson, Lead Custodian, Southwest Elementary. Bridget Carrant, GCS School Nutrition Services Manager, Southwest Elementary. Kelly Latham, Second Grade Co-Teacher, Triangle Lake Montessori. Tarsha Bulla, Adaptive Assistant, Triangle Lake Montessori. Esther Ashworth, Exceptional Children's Teachers Assistant, Union Hill Elementary. Harvey Steele, Lead Custodian, Union Hill Elementary. Cindy Hood, Cafeteria Manager, Allen J. Prep. Alan Klein, Lead Custodian, Allen J. Prep. Karen Sutton, Front Office Staff, Southwest Guilford Middle School. Maria Pass, School Treasurer, Southwest Guilford Middle School. Raven Jefferson, CIS Site Coordinator, Welborn Academy. Aljariq Lee, Lead Custodian, Welborn Academy. Norma Yates, GCS School Nutrition Services Manager, Welborn Academy. Haven Woolery, Attendance Secretary, Andrews High School. Ty Mathis, Data Manager, Andrews High School. Teresa DiFiore, GCS School Nutrition Services Manager, Andrews High School. Wanda McDonald, GCS Transportation Services Standby Driver, High Point Central. Jody Hughes, School Treasurer, High Point Central. Tammy Stafford, Office Support, High Point Central. Daryl Burris, Technology Assistant, Kearns Academy. Amanda Sparks, Data Manager, Kearns Academy. Jason Cook, Custodian, Penn Griffin School for the Arts. Joshua Curse, Custodian, Penn Griffin School for the Arts. Brett Lloyd, Lead Custodian, Southwest Guilford High School. Mark Funderburg, Exceptional Children Teacher's Assistant, Southwest Guilford High School. Next proclamation is regarding Exceptional Teachers and Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas the City of High Point would like to recognize the dedicated educators and staff of our schools, and whereas we realize the importance of teachers, guidance counselors, school social workers, and other educators in the lives of the children of our community, and whereas these educators have met unprecedented challenges to serve our children during the pandemic, and whereas recognition is deserved for our local educators due to their commitment to their students, families, and community. Now therefore, I, Jay Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, on behalf of the High Point City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd through 7th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Week, and the entire month of May as an opportunity to lift up High Point educators. I call upon the community to join me in personally expressing appreciation to all of our school staff members. Okay. Last but not least is proclamation regarding National Travel and Tourism Week. Whereas the power of travel has been a consistent driver of North Carolina's economy and workforce, whereas a robust travel industry provides significant economic benefits for the nation, generating more than $2.6 trillion in economic output in 2019, with $1.1 trillion spent directly by travelers in the United States. Whereas travel has been the foundation of a healthy workforce, serving as one of the largest private sector employees in the U.S., supporting 17 million jobs in 2019. Whereas spending by travelers has aided state and local governments alike, generating $180 billion in tax revenue in 2019 to support essential services and programs. Whereas travel and tourism dependent businesses and organizations, 83% of which are small businesses, are responsible for welcoming visitors from all around the world to explore North Carolina and all our country has to offer. Whereas last year, the coronavirus pandemic devastated every sector of the travel industry, with staggering declines in 2020 compared to 2019, affecting every community in the country, including High Point. Whereas North Carolina's total spending was $10.3 billion, down 37% from 2019. 56% of all jobs lost in North Carolina since February were in the leisure and hospitality industry. Guilford County lost an economic impact of $252,291,664.40. Whereas the travel industry cannot recover without the full return of leisure and business travel, as well as meetings and events by both domestic and international visitors. Whereas the rebound of travel will drive the rebuilding of the U.S. economy and American workforce. Whereas the power of travel will revive High Point, North Carolina, and the United States and drive us forward to a more prosperous future. Now, therefore, I, Jay Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as National Travel and Tourism Week in the City of High Point, and urge the citizens of High Point, North Carolina to join me in this special observance with appropriate support, recognition, and celebration. Okay. So my 5 proclamations are done. Congratulations to everyone. And next on the agenda is our strategic plan update. And for that portion of the meeting, I'd like to begin by recognizing Councilmember Chris Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go over the local code enforcement activity for April. The LCE staff reported 37 zoning complaints. A total of 118 public nuisance cases were abated, 30 city abated, and 88 owner abated. Due to the pandemic, LCE staff did not work on Saturday during the month. There are 2 properties with contracts out for demolition. There are 2 housing cases with an ordinance passed for demolition waiting for repairs to be completed. 337 Wingo and 216 Underhill. There are 6 properties with ordinances passed in the appeal period. Demolition bids will be requested when the appeal period is up. 1 inspector position has been filled. There are 3 inspectors positions open and interviews are underway. During the report period, there were 643 total active cases, 231 active minimum housing cases, 299 active public nuisance cases, and 113 active cases. So now I will pass it over to Lori to give us some more information.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. One thing I do want to add, Mr. Williams, on the number of, I think the complaints for public nuisance was around 169, roughly. I didn't include it, it's not part of the monthly numbers, but the inspectors did initiate 220 public nuisance cases on their own during the month of April. So they definitely are out there working. With the April update, I want to tell you about a house that we had repaired. So continuing on with good information. The house was 1001 East Kearns. We were advised by the fire department in March of 2017 that a fire had occurred. We started a case, and there was a new owner in July of 2018, so we started the case over. We held a hearing with the owner, and then issued an order for them for repair demolition with a compliance date, and it was completed just the end of March, I believe it was. This picture was taken. We did not have any exterior pictures. So I pulled this one from 2017 on a file that we had. And then we did get a rear outside picture of what it looked like, but that's kind of just a rough estimate. But the inside, of course, didn't look very good. And then this is what it looks like now. And I believe they were going to sell the property. They were fixing it up and were going to sell it. So I don't think it was going to be rental. But the inside looks really nice. And one of the reasons I include the dates when I'm able to, that doesn't go on for too terribly long, is just to kind of give you an idea of how long it takes us sometimes to get the cases to closure. It's not easy. A lot of them sit out there so inspectors can carry a housing case. You know, it could be as soon as 6 months a house could be repaired, and sometimes it can go up to years before we actually get something repaired. So just give you an idea kind of what they have to keep up with case-wise. Just wanted to like to share that with y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Holmes, would you like to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to give an update on the Strategic Marketing and Branding Task Force. We met last month, and we talked about the scope of the project, and with a lot of input from our stakeholders on the committee, we have given staff a directive to return to us this month of May before our meeting a preliminary scope encompassing all the needs, man hours that may go into a complete campaign either by staff or by hiring an external contractor to lead the marketing effort. So by that time, Managing Director Jerron Hollis will have a report for us. We'll also cover any potential budgetary items that may be necessary for a full campaign. So we should have that report out before our next meeting this month in May.
Thank you.
Mayor Wagner?
Yes.
Just a very brief question on that. On that, is that a focus on the branding of City of High Point organization, marketing the entire city, or driving folks to downtown, or is that all three?
So that's a very good question, Councilman Jefferson. Looking at some of the current campaigns that we have across the city, there's a lot of duplicative efforts going into different areas of the city. The task force recommendation is that we look at a broad campaign to kind of encompass the entirety of the city and everything that's happening here. We've had some pretty good information come out about some amenities that the city is seeing. So marketing the entire city seems to be the consensus from the task force that we need to focus on.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll move to the public comment period. I don't believe any public comments have been received. If anyone would like to submit public comments, the City Council receives public comment at its first meeting of each month. In addition, if there are items that are on the council's agenda that are for public hearing, you can submit comments on those as well. Council will be having several public hearings tonight, and we'll be taking action on those public hearing items Wednesday at 5:30 at a recessed meeting of this meeting. If you would like to submit any comments either on any subject or related to any of the public hearing items that are on the agenda tonight, you can do so by calling 336-883-3522 and leaving a message. Or you can email written comments to publiccomment@highpointnc.gov, or you can drop off your written comments at either of the utility payment drop boxes located on both the north and south side of City Hall at 211 South Hamilton Street, and we'll get those. Of course, you can also send comments to individual council members if you like through their email addresses on the city website. Okay. Next on the agenda is Finance Committee items, and for that, I'll turn the meeting over to the Mayor Pro Tem, Britton.
Thank you, Mayor. In front of us tonight is a consent agenda with 6 items, mainly dealing with public services type things, and one break pass and a resolution on Wendover Heights. I trust each person's seen and reviewed them, and Finance is presenting this tonight for favorable approval.
If there's a motion to approve the consent agenda items, is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Councilman Holmes.
Councilman Holmes? Okay, is there any discussion on any consent agenda items? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the roll. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. Consent agenda items are approved by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. We do have one regular agenda item tonight as well. That's item 2021-164 for full council consideration. It's the contract concerning City Lake Park Phase 1, and we're requested to approve the early construction package and start incorporating. And I see that it looks like Assistant Manager Greg Ferguson is going to step up and talk to us about that.
City council members, you had a briefing at the manager's briefing today about the component GMP and why we were utilizing that approach in order to advance the, the work over at City Lake Park, primarily to achieve the opening of the pool for Memorial Day 2022. This component GMP is an early release that allows some demolition to be accomplished and some various items to be ordered and procured so that we can meet that deadline. You will receive a final GMP in the month of June that Samet will provide, and at that time we'll have recommendations as to the final overall scope.
So that's something that we were aware of. We will vote. Is there any comments or questions for Greg or anyone on this item? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that item 2021-64 be approved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Jefferson. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all for finance.
All right, next on the agenda, we have, let's see, Community Development Committee items. There are no prosperity and livability items. So, Councilmember Williams, the meeting's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. First up is item 2021-173. It is an ordinance for demolition of dwelling 702 Elwood Drive. I will defer to staff on this item.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. The first property that we have is 702 Elwood. We originally inspected this property on October 19th of 2017 and held a hearing on December 2nd of 2020. This is air property, so we did have to advertise in the newspaper to get service per general statute. And we held a hearing on December 2nd, 2020, issued an order to repair or demolish on January 19th of 2021 with a compliance date of March 1st, 2021. They are delinquent in property taxes in the amount of $14,234 for the years 2006, 2009, 2010, and then 2012 through 2020.
All right. For the record, Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments or requests for this item? Thank you. With that said, I make the motion to approve item 2021-173, ordinance demolition of dwelling 702 Elwood Drive.
Motion, is there a second?
Second. Johnson.
Seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. Item is approved by a vote of 8-0.
All right, next up is item 2021-174, ordinance demolition of dwelling 1139 Pennywood Drive. I'll turn it back over to Lori.
This property we originally inspected February 20th of 2020. We held a hearing on October 6th of 2020. No one appeared for the hearing, and we issued an order to repair or demolish on October 8th of 2020 with a compliance date of November 13th of 2020. An attorney, the only contact we've had from anyone is an attorney contacted for their mortgage, contacted the inspector and said that they were going to have a contractor to take a look at the house to determine what might be their best option. We've not heard back from them, but the contractor did contact the inspector and advised that he was telling the mortgage company it'd be better just to demolish and try and rebuild than to try and repair the house. And they are not delinquent in property taxes.
All right. Thank you, Lori. Once again, Madam Clerk, outside of the information shared by Lori, have we received any bequest or anything for this item? Thank you. With that said, I'd like to make the motion to approve item 2021-174, demolition of dwelling 1139 Pennywood Drive.
Second. There's a motion made by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilman Hudson. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Item is approved by a vote of 8-0.
All right, finally, item 2021-175, ordinance demolition of dwelling, 301 Park Street. I'll turn it over to Laura once again.
This property we originally inspected on March 12th of 2019. We held a hearing on March 3rd of 2021. No one appeared for the hearing. We issued an order to repair or demolish on March 4th of 2021 with a compliance date of April 5th, 2021. They are delinquent in the amount of $632 in property taxes for 2019 and 2020. And that's for the entire time that Ms. Arbina, she purchased it in 2019. So since she's owned it, she's not paid any taxes on the property.
All right, thank you, Laura. Madam Clerk, have we received any comment or request on this particular item? Thank you. In that case, I would make the motion to approve item 2021-175, demolition of dwelling 301 Park Street.
Motion made for approval of the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hudson. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
We have one more item.
Do
We have a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I do apologize.
You're not getting off that easy.
I tried. All right, last, item 2021-176, Community Development Housing Department. This is actually, I guess, shared information on the annual action plan for the Community Development Housing Department. I'll turn it over to Mike McNair. And don't hold it against me, Mike. I had a long day.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my privilege to present the 2021-22 Annual Action Plan to you tonight. And I'll go ahead and get into it. I think you have become familiar with, every year we have an Annual Action Plan. It's a component of our 5-year consolidated plan. Every year we have to have a plan for each one of those 5 years. And so this is the second year of the most recent consolidated plan. And the plan lays out activities and programs that have been designed to strengthen communities, primarily through affordable housing, community capacity building, and also strategic code enforcement. All of our activities in the action plan utilizing federal funds have to meet this income guideline. We get an income guideline from HUD every year. These are our numbers, they're not national numbers. This is from our region. So, for instance, if you have a family of 4, we're looking at 80% of the median as the max. So we would ask you if your household income exceeds $52,900. That's everybody in the household. If you don't, then you're eligible for federal assistance. So that's sort of the screen that we use, that HUD requires us to use to determine whether somebody's income eligible. So you hear us use that term, and that's what we're referring to is that income guideline. Our action plan budget is roughly $2.58 million from a variety of sources, as you can see in the chart. Most of it is federal funds. We do get significant funding from the city directly. The Core City Redevelopment Fund, there's funding, a couple of positions and the like. We have infill development. We're not sure yet, as the budget has not been finalized. We don't know what the Core City Redevelopment component will be yet, so that number could change. Hopefully it would go up. But and then you can see the list of activities that we have, and this is again a program budget. Most of this dollar-wise is housing-oriented, as you might expect. Housing is very capital-intensive and costs a lot of money to get things going. But also, we have most of these activities are ongoing activities. We have a consistent need for these things. We can't fix them in 1 year. So we're going to have Operation Inasmuch. We're going to have urgent repair programs. And it's just something we have to continue to do. However, I will zoom in on some new activities for this year as we get further in. This is just a graphic representation of how the funds spread out from different sources. And as you may imagine, almost every source has its own rules and regulations that we have to keep up with. Our CDBG funding was reduced by about $18,500, which frankly was a surprise. And our home funds went up by a little over $4,500. That's out to about 1%, but still expecting both to go up. This is looking at it from expenditure side. You can just see again the different activities, and these slices are based on the dollar amount. So again, you can see where the housing activity is very costly to get that rolling. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our proposed activities are ongoing activities. Some of the activities we're going to resume. For instance, we haven't done Operation Inasmuch in a year. We expect to do that in October. Down payment assistance is an ongoing activity that we're involved in. That house you see up there on the right is being constructed over in Cedro. We're finding an interesting phenomenon that we're actually getting offers above the list price. So the market's getting pretty intense out there. Of course, the picture at the bottom there is Avondale Trace, which just opened this past December. And then you can see also, this is out, where is it? That's out at London Wood, before, when we could meet in person. And then you can see the Grotega Growing High Point truck, the mobile market that the city donated that vehicle to Growing High Point, and we provided CDBG-CD funding for it. Getting into the newer stuff, every year we have public service grants that the CAC reviews. These are the slate of agencies and projects that they are recommending. This was a unanimous vote by the CAC. It's $70,000 in public service dollars. Most of the agencies, I believe, you're familiar with. Some of them come with new projects, some come with old projects that get funded again. But CAC reviewed all of this and found them to be worthy of recommendation to you. So that's the listing. Another new project we have is a SOAR project. This is a group out of Greensboro called the Service Center. They work with the homeless community, help them achieve Social Security income. They work with folks that have a disabling condition. They have not been able, they've done some work in High Point. They're located in Greensboro. But since their funding originates in Greensboro, their focus has to be in Greensboro. So in order to kind of get them over here, we have to put something into their budget. So they requested $50,600. And again, the CAC reviewed this and recommended approval. Hartley Metals is a development that was submitted last year by this developer. It was not approved, and he's resubmitting it again this year. This is right on the corner of Hartley and Ingleside, across the street from Hartley Ridge. As you can see, it's a $11.5 million development, and we're proposing a $300,000 loan from city home funds. Rents will range from $282 to $855, and he did receive the highest possible site score, so he's in contention. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get that rolling. Wendover Heights is, you just approved the inducement resolution. This is a site located off of Wendover and Morris Farm Road. This will be 216 units, $30 million investment, with $20 million coming from the tax exempt bonds. So that's going to be, both of those will be submitted to North Carolina Housing Finance in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, and we'll expect to hear something in August. This is the schedule that we've been following. As you can see, we're pretty close to the end, but we had a series of meetings. Frankly, the virtual meetings have been pretty interesting. We found that we can reach people virtually that we can't reach in person. So I think that's going to become a component that we continue to use, especially interacting with colleagues, professionals in the daytime. So that's something that we learned from that. So again, as I mentioned, we reviewed this with the CAC. CAC has recommended to you that this be approved, and we're at the point tonight where we're having, are we having a public hearing? We didn't open. Okay. So, having said all that, sir, we have to submit this to HUD by May 15th, and so we'll ask, I guess, on May 5th that you approve the action plan and public hearing, and that all the appropriate city employee may sign all necessary documents, because there will be several that have to be signed. I believe that's all I've got. So any questions for me?
Just a comment. I think people need to really pay attention to and take advantage of the down payment assistance program while they can, and because, like you say, the markup of properties around is pretty substantial as of late. So if there for the public to take advantage of it, regardless, basically, not totally regardless, but regardless of your credit scores and so forth, they can help you get overcome that barrier and help you to become a homeowner. So I will recommend that. Now I will open up the public hearing portion of this. And I will say that anyone that's interested in making a public comment with this item, just follow the directives of the mayor as stated earlier in the meeting. And I'm done.
Okay. Council may take action on this item at the recessed meeting of this meeting on Wednesday, May 5th at 5:30.
Sir, I would also like to recommend that if you didn't get a chance to participate during CD week, all those were virtual, they were recorded, and you have the opportunity to view them. There's a lot of good information. You get to associate the faces and the names with the list. So a lot of our community partners are in there. I'd recommend that you watch it at your leisure. Thank you very much.
Okay. So next items on the agenda are the planning and development items. I'll be handling those. First item is a resolution of intent to establish a public hearing date of May 17th, 2021. To consider annexation case 21-01, a voluntary contiguous annexation of approximately 1 acre located along the south side of Kleiner Farms Road, approximately 2,150 feet east of Farrow Road. The property is addressed as 7855 Kleiner Farms Road and is also known as Guilford County Tax Parcel 169977. So then I move for approval of the resolution of intent. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Resolution of intent is approved by a vote of 8-0. Next is public hearing item 2021-178. zoning map amendment 21-04. And for this item, I will turn the meeting over to our staff member, Herb Shannon.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. And the one zoning public hearing you have for this evening is zoning map amendment 21-04. This is a continuation of the city's comprehensive zoning map amendment project, which is a multi-year effort by the Planning and Development Department to review and evaluate zoning of land throughout the city. The goal is to identify areas where the zoning is out of sync with existing land use policies or inconsistent with the land use policies and proposed changes. And we're also evaluating areas where to remove improper or obsolete zoning that may be acting as a barrier to development. For zoning case 2104, staff is bringing before you two areas. They're noted on the overhead projection, about 322 acres. The area noted on map 1 focuses on several residential subdivisions in the northeast portion of the city along Guilford College Road. And map 2 is looking at rezoning of various showrooms in the downtown area. As far as map 1, it's evaluating lands lying south of Piedmont Parkway along the west side of Guilford College Road. There are various residential subdivisions in this area, and we have an additional presentation that breaks down those areas so it's easier to see. But we're looking at the Barrington Place subdivision up in that area, in that pink area, the Friendly Hills Presbyterian Church, James Landing, Peninsula at James Landing, Aquila Cove at James Landing, James Wood, and the Jamesford Meadows subdivision. Except for the Friendly Hills Presbyterian Church, all of the lands identified in this area have developed as part of a single-family subdivision. These various subdivisions were annexed and obtained their current zoning approval between 1988 and 1995. And there are 5 separate conditional use zoning districts governing these areas. The primary purpose of this proposed rezoning is to remove the conditional use designation as the various zoning conditions that were established in the 1980s and 1990s have been met with the development and completion of these developments. Staff has only identified 2 undeveloped lots, and those are part of the James Wood development. So staff is recommending rezoning the Barrington Place subdivision and the Friendly Hills at Presbyterian Church development from the current conditional use residential single-family 5 district to the R5 district, and rezone the James Landing, Peninsula at James Landings, Aquila Cove at James Landing, James Wood, and Jamesford Meadows subdivision from conditional use residential single-family 3 to just a residential single-family 3 district, a base district. Staff received about 90 phone calls from the property owners surrounding areas. Once we explained what was proposed, there were no objections. There were some questions about why this was being proposed, and for example, we noted there was a condition about installing a turn lane. Well, the turn lane's been installed. There are conditions about meeting stormwater requirements. Well, that is now part of the development ordinance. Any questions on this proposal for zoning case 2104? All right. The next area is in the downtown area. There are a few market showrooms that have either a conditional use or a conditional zoning designation. These were specifically focusing on lands east of North and South Main Street, and that's 520 North Hamilton Street, a portion of that property, 122 North Hamilton Street, a portion of that property, 311 South Hamilton Street, 300 East Green Drive, 2101 and 121 and 126 South Centennial, and 105 Depot Place. These various showrooms were developed and received their current zoning between 1996 and 2015. At the time of their rezoning, the conditional use or conditional zoning was recommended because either the applicant was updating prior zoning conditions or to address concerns from City Council where the existing limits where market showrooms had historically been approved was being expanded. Those concerns raised by former City Councils were addressed over the years with the establishment of the Main Street District and the MX District on lands adjacent to the traditional downtown area. Also, establishment of the core city area and the more flexible development standards of the core city area addressed many concerns. And finally, the adoption of the current development ordinance in 2017, where parking and landscaping standards have been relaxed, address those final issues. So staff is recommending rezoning these various market showrooms from conditional use central business and conditional zoning central business to just the central business district, which matches adjacent showrooms in those areas. If you look, almost all this area is central business district. It's just these few small donut holes of conditional use and conditional zoning, conditional zoning and conditional use central business, with staff is recommending moving those conditions as they are deemed obsolete, and those issues were either addressed when the sites were developed or now governed by the development ordinance. That is a brief summary of those two areas. Are there any questions of staff at this time? I would note this item was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their March public hearing. The commission recommended approval by a vote, unanimously recommended approval of this rezoning request. The commission stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the zoning map amendments are supported by the land use plans, low density residential and community regional commercial land use classifications for their respective areas, and the request is reasonable in the public interest as the amendments are needed to remove unneeded restrictions on properties and to remove the conditional use zoning district which cannot be amended. As always, council must include in their recommendation the consistency statement and reasonableness statement, and you have that language that's being forwarded to you from the Planning and Zoning Commission for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Any questions?
Did you say that P&Z reviewed this in their March meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, public hearing is open. Council may take action on this item at our recessed meeting, May 5th, 5:30 p.m. Okay. Next on the agenda is our general business items. First is the presentation of the proposed 2021-2022 City of High Point annual budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. It's a pleasure to be here to present this today. I say that in honesty. I probably said that last year. I probably didn't mean it last year because it was such a difficult year. We were in an unknown world last year, but we feel much more confident about what we're presenting tonight to you. We have weathered the COVID storm fairly well, and so I think this budget proposal reflects that. I want to start by recognizing our staff that works on the budget, obviously all our department directors and their staffs that work so hard on the budget to put those together, but also our finance director, Bobby Fitzjohn, our budget and performance manager, Stephen Haberluck, who you may not have met in person. Raise your hand, Stephen. He came on board about 3 months ago, and then our budget analyst, Rosalind McNeil, and Linda Price that worked so hard on this budget. So we have a budget to propose to you tonight. This budget does not recommend any rate change to the property tax rate. It will propose to remain at 64.75 cents, and that will be the 6th year in a row that rate is being proposed. We are proposing a 10% decrease to residential electric rates. We are in the middle of a rate study. We feel comfortable that we can make that recommendation based on where we are with the electric fund and with the rate stabilization fund. And we anticipate coming back to you at some time in the future with some restructuring of the commercial and industrial electric rates. In addition, we are not proposing any changes to garbage collection fees, stormwater fees, or water and sewer rates. We are proposing one rate increase, and this is to our proposed motor vehicle fee. We are asking for a rate increase from $20 annually to $30 annually. This would generate an additional $785,000 for street resurfacing. I've got the picture up there is a screenshot from our citizen survey. Overall maintenance of streets and sidewalks and infrastructure was the #1 priority for those on that survey. So this additional rate increase would address that significantly. The average cost per lane mile right now, that would add an additional 9 miles of street resurfacing. If you look on this page, we did a survey of the top 20 most populous cities in North Carolina. 9 of those cities are currently at the maximum that we're allowed to charge of $30. Rocky Mount's at $25. We, along with Huntersville, are currently at $20, and then the other cities are under $20. So we feel like we're, that there are a lot of cities that do charge that maximum, and that we feel like we can do a lot of good and address a priority to the citizens with that additional rate increase. Next, on just some of our general expenditures, we are proposing a 3% pay for performance merit increase. This was what we had budgeted for the several years prior to last year. We are asking to continue the 1% match for 401k and 457 contributions. As you all know, we have had a rate increase through our local government employees retirement system for the last couple of years, and this we do have another rate increase there that was on that schedule. We have funded that. We are restoring the funding to the High Point Museum. As you remember, we cut several positions last year and some other expenditures there, and we are asking that we restore that funding to the High Point Museum. We are restoring the outside agency funding that was cut last year as well. And we are asking to eliminate the targeted hiring freeze. We are continuing funding the High Point Market, or we're restoring funding to the High Point Market, and we're continuing the funding to Forward High Point. This budget also continues the annual replacement of fleet vehicles, and it restores departmental budgets to pre-pandemic targets. We have a number of positions that we are requesting in the proposed budget. We have a diversity, equity, inclusion specialist to help those efforts. We have a training analyst in the HR department. I did want to note that the cost up there is the full cost, but that there is about $40,000 in the current budget for outside training that has been pulled out, so the net cost of that is about $20,000. We're asking for an additional payroll technician. The next 2 positions, the erosion control inspectors, as well as the position at the bottom of that list, the stormwater specialist position, are ones that were requested or recommended that we add as a part of from NCDEQ to help strengthen those areas of our public services department. We're requesting an assistant police chief to help with a strategic realignment of duties in the police department. And then that library position, or the museum position, I'm sorry, is one that was just cut last year, so we're asking to restore that full-time position. Next, we have some part-time positions. The top one, the 911 Quality Assurance Specialist, is actually a role that's currently being held by contract. So we're just asking to make that a permanent part-time position. We have a position at Oak Hollow for a park attendant. The next 3 lines are all related to the increased services that we'll have at City Lake Park. We'll have, hopefully by this time next year, we'll have a new enhanced park that will require more staffing to manage and to operate. We have the next 3 positions are all just restorations of cuts that were made last year to the museum. And then we have one reclassification of a part-time groundskeeper to full-time. Next, in our PAYGO program, the top line I really want to address, in the proposed budget, we do not propose any capital, general fund pay-as-you-go capital. Strategically, there's a reason for that. We know that we are receiving a total of $23 million in federal American Rescue Plan funds. We intend to come back to the City Council once we get guidance and guidelines on how we can use that, and come back to the City Council with a budget amendment to fund PAYGO capital for the general fund. We have our typical water, sewer, and electric capital investments. You can see the amounts there, $8.6 million. Solid waste capital as well. We continue the fleet replacement capital and the stormwater projects. I did want to talk a little bit about that American Rescue Plan. As you know, you probably have heard the city is expected to receive $23.42 million to be distributed in 2 equal payments, one this year and one next year. We still haven't gotten firm guidance from the Department of Treasury. We're expecting that next week is what we've been told. So again, there's no state or local fiscal aid from that act in the proposed budget. We did include federal transit funds coming from the act because we have better guidance on how those can be used. And as I said, we'll bring back a budget amendment with those recommendations. And then finally, this was the general guidance that we received from the federal government on how we can use those funds. We can use them to respond to the COVID-19 emergency. We can provide premium pay to workers. We can provide, we can replace lost revenue. That's a big, definition that we need to get from the Treasury Department of what they consider a lost revenue. Or we can make investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure with those funds. So next steps, tonight or next week, we have 2 and possibly 3 work sessions on the calendar for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. On the 17th, at your next regular meeting, we will hold a budget public hearing. And then the intent is to adopt the budget, have you consider adopting the budget at a special meeting sometime after the 17th, but before the next regular meeting. The next regular meeting will be, the first meeting in June will be held during market, and we didn't want to conflict if there was some conflicts with that. We do have a binder of information for you all. It's located in the conference room in the manager's office, so on your way out, feel free to grab one of those, take a look. If you have any questions between now and next Monday, shoot us an email, and we'll try to respond, and we'll get answers back to everyone for the questions.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
The water, you're saying with the water, it will not maintain the current we've always had, which is the 3% increase, there'll be no increase?
Water, sewer.
So water sewer, we are not recommending an increase this year.
Okay.
I know our long-range plan does anticipate that on an annual basis, but we've reviewed it this year, and we make the recommendation that we can take, we can defer that by 1 year.
Taking a year off of that long term?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Are there any other questions?
We're also looking at that rescue plan also.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Almeida.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is a reappointment of Lauren Britton to the Parks and Recreation Commission. That's Councilman Hudson's reappointment. So, Councilman Hudson, would you like to
Yes,
speak on that?
nothing but good things to say about Lee Tillery. Highly recommends her, and love to have her back. So I make a motion for reappointment.
There's a second. Second from Councilman Jones. Any debate on this item? Okay. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 8-0. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to add one item regarding personnel.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. So that motion's approved by a vote of 8-0. I'd like to take this time to announce that the High Point City Council has selected Tasha Logan Ford to be our new city manager. Ms. Logan Ford will assume her new duties on July 19th, subject to final approval of contract. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Logan Ford on her selection after a rigorous search process. We considered many well-qualified candidates, deliberated carefully, and we found Ms. Logan Ford to be the best qualified candidate. She is an experienced manager. She is highly respected among her peers and has a strong educational background. Her years of experience as an assistant city manager in 3 other cities have prepared her to do an excellent job for our citizens. She is excited to be joining our team here. We have reached a agreement on a kind of a letter of intent. We'll be pursuing a final contract with her soon. Ms. Logan Ford is well known in the Piedmont Triad region. She is currently serving as the Assistant City Manager in Winston-Salem and has had that job since 2018. Prior to that, she served the City of Goldsboro as Assistant City Manager and Interim City Manager from 2004 to 2013. She also served as an Assistant City Manager in Rocky Mount from 2013 to 2018. She has been actively involved in civic affairs in all of her communities. Ms. Logan Ford she earned her bachelor's degree in Human Development and Family Studies at UNC Greensboro and a Master's of Public Administration from NC State University. She achieved the coveted Credentialed Manager designation through the International City-County Management Association and is a past president of the North Carolina City-County Management Association. She has also completed several highly regarded public leadership and management training programs. She was born in Charleston, South Carolina, lived in a number of different communities during her father's Air Force service, but considers North Carolina home. She and her husband currently live in Winston-Salem with their son, and they'll be moving to High Point later this year. Also, I'd like to take this time to thank Randy McCaslin for serving as our interim manager, and he will continue in that role until Ms. Logan Ford comes. I believe that we'll be through. She's pretty smart because we'll be done with the budget by then. So, but I would like to take this time to just to welcome her and also to make a motion that, let's see, let me get this wording right here. I want to make a motion that we approve the terms of the letter of intent that has been sent to the members of council, and also to direct the city attorney to prepare a contract for final consideration and approval by council.
Second.
Second. Okay. Motion has been seconded by Councilman Hudson. Is there any debate or discussion? I got a feeling there might be some comments. Floor is open for comments or debate or discussion.
I'll say, after a national search conducted by what I think to be a great firm that does this kind of work, and having a really good, thorough process and considering a lot of folks, I thought it was pretty compelling that our group didn't take a long time to come to unanimity. I don't know if I said that the right way. On this decision, because it was just a clear-cut best. And the experience in downtown development, the experience in civic engagement, the experience in DEI strategy implementation, all of that stuff I think is going to go very, very far. And our city is one, I'm one of the first to say I'm so proud of our city, of our history, of our legacy, of the incredible strides we've made to be a city on a hill, North Carolina's international city that literally compares to no other. I'm very thrilled about the future of it, and so grateful to Manager McCaslin, who has been here as a bedrock and a very steady force of leadership, very steady force and voice of guidance and wisdom, and incredibly grateful for what you've done and excited, just excited.
Let me jump in also, I was remiss earlier, and I would also like to thank the Mercer Group, who was our national search and consulting firm. Their office is in Raleigh, but Ellis Hankins worked with us. We did receive 47 applications from 17 different states, including 22 from North Carolina. We had a number of well-qualified candidates. We had no shortage of well-qualified folks to choose from. So I'd like to take this time to formally recognize Ellis Hankins and the Mercer Group for all they did during our manager search.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to echo the sentiment in gratitude to Interim Manager McCaslin, not only for his steady leadership during this time, but also his support in this process. And I think we have made a fantastic choice. I applaud the members of council for our open mind and being looking forward down the road to what the city needs and what the city will be in the future. And I think this choice shows not only to the public but to the world that High Point is a forward-thinking city who has a strategic and bright plan for the future. So I think we all should be very happy with our selection, and also show our gratitude to Manager McCaslin.
I just want to say, I guess, thank you to the rest of my council members. I think selecting the city manager is probably one of the most important things that we're elected to do. And I didn't have to do that my first term, so I've never done it before. And you never know going into a situation like that when you got consultants and pastors and attorneys and all these different backgrounds and contractors, and none of us think alike, which is why we work well. But we came together, and with all that different thought process, the fact that we all agreed that this is the right choice, I feel very comfortable that Tasha Ford is going to be the right person for us. So appreciate you guys.
If I may, I want to also thank the Citizen Council that stepped up and helped us to kind of nail it down a bit. I think they did. We had a very diverse group in that, and all different type of stakeholders and so forth helped us with the process. I will also thank Randy also. I mean, Randy's been a rock since I've been on council, going on 7 years. So, don't be surprised when I ask you to extend your contract a little longer after this. Just putting that out there. But I'm looking forward to working with Tasha. I thought that she just presented such a unique fit to what we're already trying to do in the city. And I'm very grateful to my colleagues also, because we came to a consensus with that pretty quick, because it was relatively evident. So that's why I am. Thank you.
Randy, Councilman Johnson here. Personally, I want to thank you, definitely with the three newbies that are on here, that definitely you have steered us in the right way, and definitely we thank you for that in front of everybody. We thank you, and definitely you've been a rock to us, even though it's been a short period, but you definitely have been a rock, and we do thank you for that. To the Citizens Committee, definitely we got a group of normal High Point people, okay, and they definitely came to the conclusion, as well as we did, on our next city manager, thinking forward thinking. And so us to come together within a short period of time, unanimously decided on Tasha is just remarkable. And for us, again, as Victor said, all of us come from different backgrounds, and that's what makes High Point High Point. We're very unique, we're very different, but we have the same goals, and that's moving High Point forward. So, and I think Tasha would do that for all of us.
Very brief, Councilman Moore, I thank the entire staff, and express my welcome to Dr. Ford. Look forward to meeting her, and I'm looking forward to her blending in with our excellent staff that we have in place. And Randy, I've known you a long, long time, and your dedication to your hometown is admirable, and thank you for all that you've done, and we appreciate you.
Okay.
I'm the only one left, so I guess
All right.
in the words of a wise man, it's an exciting time to be in High Point.
You don't get extra points for that. Okay. With nothing else left to be said, I guess, I will now call the roll for the vote. So again, the motion is to approve the terms letter of intent and to direct the city attorney to prepare a final contract for consideration by the council for the employment of Tasha Logan Ford as the city manager. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Item is approved by a vote of 9-0. Next, we have some minutes to be approved.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made and the second to approve the minutes. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as stated? Okay, hearing none, and being those minutes are approved by a vote of 8-0. One, I believe our assistant city manager is pointing at me. So I think we have a new, maybe a new hire.
We need to introduce tonight.
Okay, all right. I'd like to recognize John Hollis for an announcement.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just wanted to take a really quick second to introduce one of our newest hires. As you all know, Jelani Biggs was promoted to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer position. We had a pretty rigorous competitive process, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Race Mcrae, who's our new Human Relations Manager. Race, we were able to pick Race up from internally. You know, he worked for the library. He's well connected in the community and has had some interesting roles prior to joining us here. So just wanted to give you an official opportunity to introduce you to our new Human Relations Manager, Race Mcrae. You can, I guess, so they can identify you on the street. Yeah.
Now we can see your face.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited to be working with you all. I appreciate this opportunity from Mr. Hollis. And I've loved being in High Point and working with the library, and I think this is a great extension of the work I've been doing over there, and I'm extremely excited to continue it.
Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone have any announcements? Is there anything else to be brought before the meeting? Okay. Hearing none, then I'll declare this meeting to be in recess until Wednesday at May 5th at 5:30.